All right. Well, thank you, families, for being here. We're super excited for another Family U Chat. We have been doing this every year for the last few years, where Dawn and I and her team, we get on here and we tell you all the things you need to know about moving. And I am not the expert in moving, but I like to think that I'm friends with the people who are the experts in moving. And so we're super excited to do this today. We want you to know that after this chat, we will make sure that this information is on our website. We will record this, we'll post it. It'll be shared in the Family to Family Facebook group so that you can go back and watch it, share it with your student, all of those things. And then we'll also share contact information at the end to make sure that you can get those last minute questions answered, or if something comes up, you know who to talk to. All right. Well, without further ado, I want to introduce Don Bond, the Director of Operational Services, to talk about move-in.
Awesome. Thank you, Jonathan. Students and families, thanks for joining us today. We are getting so close to welcoming you back to campus, if you've been here previously or for the first time. And so we're excited to be doing this webinar today. We are going to focus on move-in day and really primarily how to plan for the big day, particularly around navigating the campus and following the different maps and directions that we've created for you. We have turned off the Q&A. I'm going to be about 20 minutes, and so I will be as brief as possible so that we can leave as much time at the end for questions and answers. But I have learned that if you leave the Q&A on, then people just ask questions and don't listen to the actual presentation. So I'm going to get us started. So Sarah on my team is going to share screen, and we are going to go through the presentation quickly. Okay. So you or your student already know where you're going to be living for fall. You have already either been assigned a move-in reservation or selected a time last week. And so we are now at a place where we are going to start moving students from conference transition or moving in our early arrival groups. That starts on August 25th. And so those groups will arrive and check in at their residential service desk, and we'll be able to sign out a bin, and we'll have about 20 minutes in the unload zone to unload the car and then move that car to an adjacent student lot. Beginning on August 27th, move-in day 1, the 28th, move-in day 2, and August 29th, move-in day 3. That's where we're going to focus most of our time today. Students are also eligible and may have selected into an unassisted move-in that over Labor Day weekend, and that will happen the 30th through September 1st. So first off, we are going to talk about Sam the Minuteman's checklist, and we are going to discuss how to get to campus, and once you're to campus, how you would go through each of the check-in locations and review how to use our website for those maps and routes. So Sarah, I'm going to have you scroll down to our new video that we just made, that I'm going to sort of narrate. All of the information that you need is on our website, and you are going to navigate to residential services, fall move-in, and there's a couple of tabs all the way across the top. Today, we are going to focus on driving directions in this section. And so we are going to select East Check-in. East Check-in location is behind North Apartments in a big parking lot called Lot 44. And depending on what direction you're coming from, you're either going to navigate down East Pleasant to Pine Street, or you're going to take 116, and that will get you to North Residential Drive. The directions are both mapped and written out step by step. Once you have figured out how you get yourself to the check-in location, you are going to navigate to the day that you're arriving and look for the building that you'll be checking into. Today, I chose Webster. And so Webster is a building that will get checked in at lot 44. And then step by step, leaving the check-in location is already done for you. There's no guessing. You're going to leave the check-in location, turn right at the police station, turn right onto Residential Drive, and then enter Orchard Hill Bowl and then get moved in. That's your unload zone. Once you have been unloaded, your car will leave the check-in location unload zone, and you will go park in one of the 449 lots. There are 4 versions of lot 49 all the way around Orchard Hill. You're going to look for the spot that's open and then walk back to the residence hall. The driver is, at least. If you're bringing a second car, then you're going to navigate to the directions for second cars. We're going to stick with Webster for today. And second cars on the east side of campus, all of the Orchard Hill second cars follow the same routes. You will follow your primary car through the steps of check-in and then leave the east check-in location onto Eastman Lane, take Eastman Lane up to the police station to East Pleasant, taking a right, following East Pleasant down to Orchard Hill Drive, similar to the route the primary car is following, but you're not going to get unloaded. You're going to go and park in those upper 49 lots and then walk down to your student's residence hall. We're going to move on to this boarding pass. The boarding pass is a piece of paper that unfortunately you do need to print still. We are not the airlines. We can't do phones. We take possession of this piece of paper out there in those parking lots. And so this boarding pass has a barcode that affiliates with your student and their key envelope. And so we will scan that barcode as well as the barcode that's on the small envelope that has the room key in it. So please print a boarding pass for the primary car. We think it's also helpful to print a boarding pass for the secondary car because we have a QR code on that boarding pass that takes you to those directions that I just walked us through quickly. That will take you to our website, and then you would navigate from there. I think it's important for second car drivers to have a sense of what's happening because at some point in the process, you will separate. And if the second car driver hasn't done any research, they're going to get confused. And you can only put so many signs down on the ground during move-in. Signage on the ground is really not a great strategy for navigating people around a large campus. And so I would recommend both drivers, if there's 2 cars coming, have done a little bit of recon prior to leaving home. And then that the second car, if there is one, that will not get unloaded at an unload zone, has a driver that's familiar with the route that they're going to take depending on their the residence hall that we're moving you into. So I think we can move on from the boarding pass. Couple of hints and tips around what to bring. It's not too late to order a micro fridge. I think that they can no longer guarantee that it'll be in the room waiting for you or your student. I know this week we are working with microfridge very closely and getting microfridge units into students' rooms, so that's happening as we speak. We do hold a giant tag sale on Saturday, August 30th. Those are items that we collected at May Move Out that usually no longer fit in the car or students no longer wanted because they're graduated and moving on to different things. That giant tag sale will take place in Southwest at Hamden. We also have a pretty extensive checklist on our website, and the link will be available to you when Jonathan posts this. And I think it's on a 3-page checklist, and so check that out. There are also things that you may not bring. Most of them are considered hazards, fire hazards, or other safety hazards. The most common non-permitted item that we do find in students' rooms, surprisingly, since we talk about it all the time, are candles. You are not allowed to bring candles, even unlit candles, even if they're just pretty and you never plan to light it. It's still a policy violation. And we had a significant fire in one of our residence halls at fall move-in last year due to a lit candle in a room. And so that is why they are not allowed. So please do not bring them. There's some essentials that I would like to highlight. They're probably things that you're already thinking about, but I'll just reinforce the idea that you need them. Most of our residence halls are not uh, air conditioned, and so you will need at least a fan. I think 2, one for the window and one to oscillate and move air. It can be very hot here in September and early October. Many of the orientation sessions that were overnight this year, as Jonathan can attest later, were hot, like really hot. And so it's important to bring a fan or 2 to keep the room cool. If you have important medications, please bring at least a 30-day supply to get you through the month of September. We do carry very heavy package load the first several weeks of the semester, and we would not want for an important medication to get caught up in that backlog. And then lastly, some courses do require what is called an iClicker. That is a classroom tool. It can be found on Spire under Class Overview/Textbooks. If you or your student needs an iClicker, they probably need it for the first day of classes, and so that's something that I would also purchase upfront and bring with you as you get moved in. I've mentioned this a couple of times, but I want to really be clear, clear, clear. We only unload one car during move-in, and you can put as much stuff as you want in that car. And if there's a Thule on top, we'll still unpack that, but we will not allow a second car to be unloaded or near the unload zone for the building. If you do end up bringing a second car for many different reasons, family members want to be part of the experience. You're leaving the car here with your student. The second car should not have anything in it. This is a true representation of a family that showed up and didn't realize that we had a second, we did not unload second cars at the residence halls. And I feel bad for this dad. I think he's the one that they didn't tell, or maybe just everyone didn't know, but he's standing there trying to figure out with his hat off how to renegotiate this whole thing. And so there are places at both sides of campus to move things from car to car. We're hoping that you don't need to do that, and this webinar keeps you from packing a second car. If you need to put a few things in the second car, be like this family. Put the light things in the second car. You can see they're happy to be walking things in. It's important to recognize too that elevators, even if there is an elevator in the residence hall, is likely not available to you because those elevators are being used to move students in that are being unloaded at that time. And so please wear comfortable clothing and shoes. You will be walking some stairs during move-in. On the east side of campus for residence halls in North, Northeast, and Sylvan, we run a shuttle all day long, all 3 days, because the two parking designations that we have identified for move-in days are lots 31 and 68, which are a little bit down Governor's Drive and a little bit of a further walk than some of our other residence halls and residential areas. So we run this shuttle all day long, 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And so hop on our shuttle after you've gone and parked the car, or hop on the shuttle when you're going back to your car. And again, that's just North, Northeast, and Sylvan. We also operate a check-in shuttle for students who are arriving by bus. Peter Pan bus stops at the Brommery Center for the Arts, or also called Haggis Mall, and this shuttle will take you the last mile. If your family or your student is staying at the UMass Hotel overnight, then we can also come and pick you up and take you the last mile with the luggage. And so that check-in shuttle operates all 3 days as well from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Summer housing and conference housing transitions happen on Monday, Sunday afternoon and Monday, the 24th and 25th. And so if this is your student in this situation, then you are able to come after hours during the days that we are moving students in, but not during the day while we're moving students in the 27th, 28th, and 29th. The conference housing groups that will be transitioning are the marching band and a program called eBIOS, and summer students that are here are typically our fall preseason athletes. So again, if you do plan to bring additional items to your student after they've transitioned into their fall assignment, you can come anytime after 6 p.m., the 27th through the 29th, or anytime August 30th through September 1st. That's Labor Day weekend. Again, you will not have access to the residence halls or the unload zone while we're moving other students in. This is an example of an early arrival family. They have parked adjacent to Honors College. They've gone to the service desk and the students picked up their key there. They've signed out a bin and they have 20 minutes to move the items from the car and up to the room. Once that car is unloaded, it does need to move to a designated parking lot, which are student permit lots adjacent to the residential areas. This is a map of East Check-in, which I feel like we talked a little bit about previously, so we won't spend too much time here. But the residence halls that check in at East Check-in are Northeast, North, Sylvan, Orchard Hill, and Central residential areas. You enter into the East Check-in onto North Residential Drive, coming from the north, and you will enter in. That's where the student will be in. Number one is where a student gets issued the key. Number two is where you get a snack from our dining partners. They're wonderful. Number three on the map is where we hold cars until we have a spot in the unload zone available to unload you, and then off depending on that day's traffic pattern leaving East Check-in. Again, we run that shuttle for North, Northeast, and Sylvan. West Check-in is a little more intuitive because I think everybody knows where the football stadium is. And so you will enter onto what is called Stadium Drive off of Massachusetts Avenue, coming in from Route 116. Enter Stadium Drive, make your way around that big giant loop. And the first stop on the west side is our dining tent. And then you'll loop around. That's where the student will get their room key and a placard that goes on the windshield. And then lot 11 is where we hold cars in what is called our car call up until we are able to get you unloaded. We check in Southwest in Honors College at West Check-in. This is a very quick video, start to finish, on an actual move-in day of East Check-in.
Hi, welcome to UMass and have your U card and boarding pass. You. Right, I'll be right back with your key. Hey, I'm Natalie. Welcome to UMass. We're going to be moving you into school today.
Awesome. I love that video. That was real time. We made that video on an actual move-in day. And as you can tell, there was no waiting in car call up. So once you've been moved in, you'll start to set up the room. Students will complete what is called a room condition form on Spire. We'll have 48 hours after check-in to complete the room condition form. That's essentially an inventory form that says that the room is in good condition and the furniture that we said should be in the room is in the room. If not, please drop us an online service request and we will rectify any problems. Lofting and bunking beds is also an option for students upon arrival. Lofting kit materials are available on our website, and Sarah has included the link to where each building's lofting materials are stored, as well as the instructions for how to loft the bed or bunk the bed. We also provide safety bars. Those are upon request using the online service request. And probably the most important part of this slide, even though it's in small print and last, is there are sprinkler heads in every single one of our residence halls and student rooms. And if you are disassembling furniture and moving things around and lifting things above your head, it is essential that you look up and identify where those sprinkler heads are in the room so that you may not hit it. If you hit the sprinkler head, even tap it, it is going to put the sprinkler head into activation and the entire room will be flooded. That is the whole point of a sprinkler in a real fire situation. And I would not want that to happen during room setup. Did I freeze? Nope. It's also a great time to start to explore your new home. Every residence hall has at least one, but usually more than one hydration station. Please try to help with eliminating single-use water bottles on our campus and bring a couple of refillable, reusable water bottles so that you can fill up at hydration stations across campus, not just in your residence hall. There's a laundry room in every residence hall. In the towers, there's more than one. This fall, we are moving to an app on your student's smartphone to pay for laundry. There are no longer options to pay with coins, and we are no longer using the U card and U card readers in the laundry rooms. Those have been disabled. It is now an app that your student will download on their phone. There are kitchens, recreation space, banks of mailboxes, trash and recycling rooms in all of our residence hall facilities. If you do find that you're in a situation where an emergency maintenance concern has arisen during move-in or any time after that, please call our 24/7 emergency assistant line at 413-545-6401. We are covered there again 24/7, 365 days a year, and there are staff here, response technicians who we will dispatch immediately to respond to that emergency maintenance problem. We also have what are called residential service desks to support you or your student in their process of receiving mail or packages. It is also where you would go if you were to misplace or lose your room key or your U card. We can issue a temp card if the U card office is not open. All of our residence halls are locked 24/7, and students will need their U card or a temp card to get in and out of their residence hall at all times. And then more importantly, this is really why I think most students know where their residential service desk is because this is where you go to pick up packages. Students will receive an email from our email box letting them know they have a package once it's arrived and processed by our team. I've mentioned this a little bit earlier, but this is a true picture of one of our service desks and the packages that we take in during the first couple of weeks. We get inundated with packages. And so be patient with us. Expect some delays the first few weeks. You may want to consider ordering your textbooks through the eCampus pickup point, which is in the campus center. We've already talked about making sure that you have at least a 30-day supply of important medications. And there are some parameters around items over 40 pounds or requiring a 21 plus signature. So more information on about our service desk and mail services can be found at that link. And I believe this is my final slide, and then we'll move to some questions. Residential services is open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. That is our phone number and our email there. But most of the information, all of the information that I've talked about today actually is on our fall move-in page or under residential services. So with that said, I'll go back over to Jonathan, who's always great at curating questions for me.
Yes. All right. Well, we're excited to take some questions. I have opened the Q&A feature, which is where you can ask some questions, and you can type them in the chat. I will read the most common questions out loud to Dawn, but then her team is behind the scenes also answering some of these via text. And so I want you to know that those are the two options. Don, this is a really great question. Is a person has two students, they have
Mhm.
twins, moving in back to back. Is there an issue with the second car if they have two students?
No, each student can have a distinct car that will get unloaded at their residence hall. If they're planning to live together, then they will both have a car that we will unload. So the one car rule is per student.
Great.
I'm going to take
Um,
the Amazon question if that's okay, Jonathan, because I
do
see it
it.
right there.
Yeah.
Amazon is not an approved vendor for our campus. They do not deliver to our campus. When you buy through Amazon, you will need to pick a different shipping provider. And so if that's not clear to you, then give us an email. But again, Amazon does not deliver packages to our campus. They're not an approved vendor. You will need to pick an alternative shipping method to get that package to your student's residential service desk, and then we will process it from there.
Don, you know I love the really specific questions that folks try to ask you, and so this one's great. What are the size of the trash cans in the residence halls?
You know, want to know the weird thing is I think I actually know this.
That's why I ask you, because you usually know.
13 gallons.
13 gallons. All right. My next question is, if my student only had an option to move in on one day, what does that mean?
We move most of our buildings in on one day. And so it's just the larger buildings that need 2 days to move in. For example, Orchard Hill, it takes a day and a half for each of the Orchard Hill buildings to get moved in. Towers get moved in over 2 days, with the exception of Coolidge. Sylvan is moved in, Cashin and Brown are moved in over 2 days. McNamara is moved over one. So it's really about our ability to move in the building and the number of students that are in that building and whether there's an elevator or not.
Yes. Don, a really important thing that I think you all are trying to highlight and we're trying to highlight is, how do people navigate campus? And so the question is should the second car go through check-in or go straight to the parking lot?
We advise that it go through the check-in process because we will also service that car. We'll talk with the driver for a moment. We put a placard on the windshield that says second car. Sometimes when families get separated, they don't know how to meet back up. So we advocate for the second car to follow the primary car through the 3 steps of check-in. And once they leave the check-in location, that's when they should go park in the lot that's been designated for that student's residence hall.
Mhm. Another important thing I'm seeing is how do I get an appointment for move-in day? This is something that you talked about very early on,
Uh-oh.
and should already have happened.
Uh-oh.
So I want you to answer
Yeah.
this one. Yeah.
Okay, oopsie doodles here. Last week was move-in reservation week. And so depending on whether you're being moved in by our professional moving company, which is all of our Southwest Towers, Sylvan Residential Area, and Honors College, those students are assigned a move-in time and would have just viewed their time and then printed the boarding pass. Every other student, every other residence hall would have selected a move-in time, even early arrivals, even RAs and peer mentors, even people that want to come over Labor Day. You would have selected a time for when you were moved in. So if your student didn't do that, we assigned them a time and we sent that email out Friday. So talk with your student
Yeah.
and look on Spire.
All right, our next question says, for parking, what do I do on move-in day? If I've purchased a parking lot, will my student be able to park there?
Depends. If they have a lot 44 sticker, it's very likely they're not going to park in lot 44 until we're done moving students in on Friday. At 5 p.m. and then they'll move to their designated lot. If they have a lot 11 permit, same. We use all of lot 11 to move students in. And so it's okay for your student to park in the location that we have designated for their move-in, as long as it's a student parking lot. So lots 49, 44, 11, 12 is another student lot. And so there's a chance that your student isn't parking their car in the lot that they have a permit for the remainder of the year. But by 5 p.m. on Friday, they will be able to.
And should the families park in the assigned lot of the student, or where should families park during move-in?
The family should park during move-in based on those maps that I just overviewed in this presentation. And so if you go to the fall move-in section of the Living website and select the tab called Driving Directions, that will take you to all of the maps and directions for first how to get to campus, and then second how to navigate to the residence hall after you've been checked in, as well as where to park after you've been unloaded. So that is all spelled out. The one thing I think that is the most misunderstood about the move-in process, based on the questions that we're getting today and some of the Facebook activity that I've been watching, is people don't realize how much effort that we've gone to for every single building. Each day that we're moving students in through this centralized move-in process, there are directions and maps already done. And so if you're like me and you like to know what's about to happen and you're not going to go to some big event without knowing where you're going to go and how you're going to park, go to the website, navigate to whether you're checking in on the east or west side, and then look for the directions for your day and your building. And it's all spelled out. You could even print those maps if you wanted to.
So when will the boarding passes be sent?
So the boarding passes are available to your student as soon as they've made their move-in reservation. They sign the key agreement, make the move-in reservation, and then they can print the boarding pass. They can also go back in right before you come to campus and print it then. I've seen a lot of families talk about just printing it and putting it in the glove box so it doesn't get forgotten at home.
That's a good idea. We answer this question all the time, but what heights are the beds when students move in?
So that is what is called captain's height. And when I stand next to the bed, I'm 5'9", it comes up to my hip. And so they're up pretty high. You can put the 3-drawer dresser underneath the
Mhm,
captain height of the beds. And so there's a lower height if you wanted to lower it down. But the standard height is at captain's, and the dimensions I don't have off the top of my head. Steve
mhm,
Maloney might be able to put it in the chat, and I'll say it if you have it.
mhm,
But it's pretty far off the floor. You can put plastic storage bins under there. The standard 3-drawer dresser that we have in the rooms will fit under captain's height.
mhm. And when it comes to lofting, do they need to request that? How does lofting happen for these beds?
So lofting kits are available in each of the residence halls in different locations. So it's important that you go check that out on our website. It's listed for each hall, and you will go to that. Your student will go to that location, get the materials needed to loft the bed, and then we advise that you bring a rubber mallet. We do have some available, but you wouldn't want to have to wait for something like that if 6 people in line in front of you. And so bring a rubber mallet and then follow the instructions for how to loft the bed that are available on our website.
Mhm,
And that's a pretty high height. I just want to name that. And
mhm,
so your student's probably going to need something to step on to get up onto that height of a bed.
mhm. We're getting a lot of questions about U cards. So, what do folks need to know if they don't have their U card, if they maybe haven't
Sure,
received it in the mail, if
sure.
they are international student, any of those things?
Great, I can cover that. So international students would not have anybody without a US domestic address would not have had their U card mailed to them. And so with international students, we take possession of international students' U cards and issue them at their service desk because most new international students come early to attend orientation. If you have not received your U card in the mail, because by this time you should have, because we're about a week away. That means that your U card is waiting for you at the U card office. The U card office is going to be open extended hours during move-in. We will take any form of photo ID at the check-in location to verify that you are you. After you've moved in, then we strongly encourage you or your student to go get their U card at the U card office, which is in Whitmore Administration Building, and they are open each day until 6 p.m. to accommodate folks who are moving in those later move-in reservation times.
Mhm. What happens if it gets lost in the mail?
It should only be lost in the mail if they don't have the correct permanent home address in on file, and since that's something that you probably just recently did,
Mhm,
if for any reason it hasn't come and you are arriving to campus without it, I would go to the U-Card office to see if they're still holding it or if you have to retake a picture
mhm.
or reprint. You don't have to retake the picture, reprint another card.
Yeah. So, can you talk about meals on campus during move-in? What about students? What about families?
Sure. So the meal plans for students start on early arrival day, Monday, August 25th. And then, depending on the meal plan you're on, will depend on how many meals you have each, week. Students whose family members, for students who have a meal plan, family members eat free during their move-in day, and so dining handles that perfectly when you go. If your student isn't on a meal plan, it is not free, so they will charge you for that. But they do take care of families for that meal when they arrive.
Okay. So, if folks use the luggage program and shipped us some things, will those items be in their room upon arrival?
Yes, we are on top of luggage this year, and our team has been actively working on getting luggage into student rooms last week and this week. So we're in good shape. It should be in the room.
Can you talk about what a person needs to check in? Do they need a photo ID? Do they need more than their U card? What
They
else?
Yep, they just need a photo ID. Preferably it's a U card, but we know that some students won't have their U card, so we don't get stuck on that. They need a photo ID and their boarding pass.
Yeah.
Two things.
This one's just fun, Don. We've been asking some serious questions. So, is there an iron and an ironing board in the laundry area? Or
There is
should,
not. No,
yeah.
no, there is not.
Some of their students should bring their own.
They should.
Yeah. So if a student has early move-in, can you talk a little bit about early move-in if there's no assistance? Kind of what's that look like?
Of course, early move-ins and late move-ins, after-hour move-ins are all unassisted move-ins. There will not be a check-in process where you go to a parking lot and get checked in that way. What you will do is you will drive to the residential service desk for your student's residence hall. That's where your student will get their key, and then they will go to a designated location. Some days it's the service desk that you check the bin out. Other days there's pods across the residential areas where staff are signing out bins at a table outside. Again, that's all on our website. Depending on the day that you move in, it's spelled out in detail. And then you will get a bin issued for about 20 minutes. You'll unload the car and then move the car and then finish setting up the room and unpacking from there. We
Yeah.
do 20-minute time enforcement at unload zones, because if we don't, people kind of get caught up in the set the room up mode and forget to move the car. And so it's really important that, I always say this every year, move-in is a team sport. And we all need to work together in order to make it smooth for everybody. And so we can't just have families leave their cars in the unload zone for hours, because that means there's another 10 families that haven't been able to unload in that spot.
Yeah. And so if students are moved into the disability DRC or defined residential community,
Mhm.
is there assistance for that?
During assisted move-in day, absolutely. If
Uh,
they're arriving as an early arrival, no.
okay. And what about if a family member has a, disability and a handicap placard? How does
Mhm.
that change the move-in process?
So it doesn't change it much. You're going to go through all the same steps that we've described here today. And then after the car has been unloaded, if the primary car was the car with the disability placard on it, then that family member is welcome to find the closest HP spot that's open and available to the student's residence hall.
Mhm. Don, I didn't tell you this because I just fixed it while we were talking, but we had so many people try to join the webinar that we had to broadcast it to YouTube. So I'm also looking at some YouTube questions. And so one of the questions coming from YouTube is, can we bring a toaster and a mini fridge?
So I know the mini fridge is allowed. I have a question in my mind about the toaster. And so I would ask that person asking to go to the list of prohibited items on our website and
Mhm.
make sure a toaster is allowed. I'm confident a toaster oven is not, but I don't know if a standard toaster is also prohibited.
Yeah. Um, the next question is how long can families stay to set up the room? And yeah, that's question one. There are multiple questions in this one.
Sure. So, families can stay as long as they need to. We know this is an important day. I think it's the second most important day of a student's career, college career. Of course, commencement's the most important day. Getting to commencement and graduating is number one. And I do think this is a really important and special day. And I also think it's a hard day for families to say goodbye and leave. And so no one's pushing you out the door. No one's timing you or your car, as long as it's not in the unload zone. So, enjoy your time here with your student as you say goodbye.
Yeah. Do the rooms have mirrors? I think that depends on what hall you're in.
I think most of them do. And I'm going to say yes to that.
Okay.
I'm going to say
And
yes to that.
and does each floor have bathrooms?
Each floor does have bathrooms, but that's a trick question. And so what I'm going to say is that in some of our older residence halls, or even in our newer tower halls, there's only one bathroom per floor, and our bathrooms are sex designated. And so your student may have to go upstairs or downstairs depending on the designation of the bathroom and the floor that they live on. It may not match.
Mhm. If an international student arrives on August 26th at the Boston airport, what's the move-in procedure?
They should email residential services today, and we will work on arranging a move-in for that student because obviously that's out of their control. And we wouldn't want them to not have somewhere to be moved into on the 26th. We don't move very many students in on the 26th, but we are in a position to support that. We would just need to know.
Yeah. Um, how did the bins get upstairs with elevators, and how do we kind of move bins, elevators, all of that during
Yeah.
move-in?
Yep. It's a great question. So I'm going to start with the assisted move-in days. For for buildings with elevators, not all students will be moved in using the elevator. So that will mean that we will unload the car into the bins, and then we will push those bins to an adjacent stairwell and then lift and carry from there. And typically in buildings where not all students are being moved in using the elevator, which is in most of our buildings unless USS is moving them in, is that they are the lower floors. And then the higher floors will have access to the elevator. And the way it works with the elevator is you push the bin into the elevator. It may take 2 trips, but you'll get brought up to the floor, and then the bins will get pushed to the room. We'll unload the bins and then bring them back downstairs for the next families. In buildings where there is not an elevator, we still do what is called containerize the belongings because we need to get the car out of the unload zone. And if we did it piecemeal, arm load by arm load, that car would be there forever. And so in buildings like our Northeast residential area, with the exception of one residence hall, none of those residence halls have elevators. They were built before there were requirements for that. And so those buildings we would containerize in the bins that we use, all of the belongings in the car, and then we'll push to the stairwell that's on what we call the push pattern for that room. And then we would, the Minute Mover team and the family would carry items upstairs.
Mhm. Don, we have a person who's renting a car or a vehicle for move-in.
Okay.
What happens if they don't know the vehicle information? How important is it that we know that beforehand?
We don't need to know that.
Didn't think so, but I wanted to make sure.
Yep.
We,
We'll unload the car no matter what kind of car it is. We've done Uncle Bob's bakery van. We've had, people borrow larger vehicles from friends and family so they can put more belongings in. So we don't take any vehicle information during the move-in process.
Mhm. Great. After move-in, where will the first car go um, after they've been unloaded?
They'll go and park in the lot that we have pre-designated, and all of that information is on the website under driving directions. So navigate to fall move-in, driving directions, pick the side of the campus that you're moving in on, and then from there, select what day you're moving in and the building that you're moving in. And specific directions are available to you. It's no guessing. It's all right there. You can take a peek at it, orient yourself, familiarize yourself with the route for every aspect of getting here, what you do after you're unloaded, whether you're bringing a second car or not. It's all on that website.
Don, we get this question every year, but are they allowed to tip the movers?
We we discourage that. Our students are agreeing to be here, and they are also compensated. So the Minute Movers are compensated, and so we have asked them not to take tips. And the professional moving company that we utilize for our more challenging buildings, the Towers, Honors, and Sylvan, are already being compensated, and so no tipping is needed.
Mhm. This is a fun question, and I hear you answer it all the time. If they bring a U-Haul trailer, how big can the car be, Don?
Okay, so we will unload that. We will unload that. But I will say, and I will say it very gently and kindly, you're bringing too much stuff. You're bringing too much stuff.
Yeah.
These are in most cases, shared rooms with another student who's also bringing things. And even in the North apartments, the rooms are not that large, even though they're singles. All the furniture is provided by the university. And so if you're bringing a U-Haul, I guess the one reason you could do that is that all 5 seats in your car have people in them, and you have a small little U-Haul attachment on the back of the car. And yes, we will unload that.
Good question. So will the buses run during move-in?
They do. They
Too?
do. They run on a different schedule, but buses do run during move-in.
Mhm. If students have textbooks that they need to be delivered, how should they do that?
Mhm. So if you know that you need that textbook for the class, I'd say order it now and have it with you. Again, package delivery is a little slower the first couple of weeks of the semester at the residential service desks. And so I wouldn't want you to not have a textbook that you need for first day of classes. But otherwise, you would use the address that's available on the website for your residence hall, and you would have it shipped to yourself, and the service desk will process it and let you know when it's available to be picked up.
Great. Talk to me about bed rails and having those installed.
Yeah. So bed rails are available. We have several hundred of them across campus. You'll put in an online room request, online service request upon your arrival. We do flag those as faster than routine, but not considered emergencies. And we will do our very best each day to get bed rails to students who are requesting them.
Mhm. What time should folks show up for their appointments?
At the beginning of the 30-minute window. And so if you have an 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. move-in time, which is the first move-in reservation for each of the days, then you should be arriving to your check-in location at just a few minutes before 8.
Mhm. There's been a couple questions about events and stuff happening, so I'm going to answer that question because that's my area.
Nice.
But it's is there anything for families during Welcome to the U? And the answer is yes. There are two sessions of that, one on each day of move-in, which is an opportunity for folks to mingle, write a postcard to their student, get some appetizers and things, and then that's usually what we call one more stop before you go, and that's really for families there. And then for students, often we get this question, and I've seen it here: is should the students go home after they've moved in? The answer is no. There are so many things for them to do in that span of time, and so we want to make sure um, that they have an opportunity to participate in all those activities, start to form those relationships in that time frame. And so we encourage them to stay and start to build those connections. Don, I see a lot of questions about Amazon and shipping and all of those things. So give us
Yep.
the rundown.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm coming back to you because Cass gave me a heads up on that. So
Okay.
here we go, folks.
Mhm.
You got to go to the website. Okay.
Mhm.
So on the Living website, share. So are you seeing the residential service desk website,
Yes, we
Jonathan?
are.
Okay, so residential service desks is on the Living on Campus website, and then there's a section of mail and packages. There's a tab right here, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time reading this to you. This is how packages get delivered, how to address mail, along with a directory for what your student's actual mailing address is, some information about package delivery for this fall. And then these are our authorized vendors. And so these are the people who we will accept packages from no matter where you order the item from. Okay, so let's clear it up in our minds, okay? You can still order stuff from Amazon. I wouldn't take that away from you. I'd like to, but I won't. You have to ship through one of these vendors. Get it? Amazon does not deliver to our campus. A truck with the Amazon written on the side of it does not deliver to our campus. You have to pick an alternative vendor for the delivery of that package to us. Does
Feels
that
clear to me.
does that seem clear, Jonathan?
It
Seem
feels clear
clear?
to me.
Okay. I know
Our
people the Amazon thing gets people bananas. It's like
exact.
you can still buy stuff on Amazon. You
It's
just
just a
have to
one of
ship
them.
it with a different vendor.
Yes. All right. So we talk a lot about the time limit and some of the ways we want to navigate move in, but is it different for unassisted move in versus assisted move in?
Mhm. So assisted move-in moves much faster. We unload cars in under 10 minutes, sometimes under 5. And so we have a team approach. We unload that car really quickly. As soon as that car is unloaded during assisted move-in days, it's out of there. The driver jumps in there and gets the car out, because then we're calling up another car. On unassisted move-in days, we have staff on the ground writing tickets for windshields, and this will be the same when you go to move out in
Mhm.
May. And we will write down the time of arrival. We'll add 20 minutes, and that's what you have to unload. And
Mhm.
so the unload process for unassisted move-in is about 20 minutes. You will need to sign out a bin and then load that bin. It could take multiple trips. So it's important to also pack efficiently, so that you know, if you have wheelie suitcases, pack those well. Those don't need to go in a bin. The things that you should be putting in a bin are the heavier things that can't be arm carried in. And so it is a 20-minute limit when it's an unassisted move-in.
Mhm. Okay, great. So, getting lots of questions about where will this email information be available afterwards. It's going to be available on our website on Family U Chat. And so we'll make sure that you have access to this recording. I'm going to put the link in the chat right now so that everyone can see it. This is where it will be posted as soon as we are done. We still have about 8 more minutes to answer questions. But please don't call us 5 minutes after and say it's not available, because Zoom has to process it and then we can download and upload. And so it will take us some time, but we promise it will be posted there. It will also be on our Facebook. And so we'll make sure that you have access to all of these things. Um, all right, Don, more questions.
Yes.
A really common one we're getting is bins. When are the bins available? Are they available assisted, unassisted? What
Yep.
times? Talk to us
Yep.
about the bins.
Yep. Like I'm gonna the sort of there's two options. And
Okay.
so we're on Monday, August 25th. If you are coming in as a early arrival, be clear here, your student is not transitioning from summer housing or conference housing. That's separate. But if you are bringing your student in as an early arrival because they are part of a group or they have an extenuating circumstance and they're moving in between 9 a.m. and 10 p.m. on Monday, August 25th, you will sign out a bin at the bin locations in each of the residential areas. Any other time outside of that day on Monday, you will sign out a bin at your student's residential service desk.
Mhm.
If you're not sure, ask when you're getting the key, because you have to have the key first to do any type of move-in. And so for all unassisted move-ins, students will get their key at the service desk, with the exception of conference transition.
Mhm.
Conference transition gets very clear directions about what they're doing that morning when they're moving. The band and the BIOS program are the exceptions to going to their service desk. Everybody else who's moving in early or unassisted, late or after hours, will go to their service desk.
Okay. All right. I think that is helpful. Let's see. There are lots of other things about people being early, people being late. So talk to us about being late or early for your
Mhm.
reservation.
Yeah. So if you have a move-in reservation and you're moving in on the assisted move-in days, the 27th, 28th, or 29th, we want you to make every effort to hit your window, is to arrive at the time, the 30-minute time block that your move-in reservation is scheduled for, because that helps us manage traffic. We understand that there's some things that are out of your control, but those things aren't happening today, right? There's not a traffic jam today. So if you are thinking about what your plan is for the day, you want to map the distance and time it takes to get to the campus, and based on that and where you're coming from and what the traffic might be from where you're coming from on any given day, because these are business days. So account for that and then attempt to arrive in your 30-minute window. If you end up running late, keep coming. We're going to check you in. If you come 4 hours early because you just wanted to get in early, now that behavior is actually counterintuitive to what we're trying to do when we're moving students in over a paced way throughout the day. And so it's, again, things that are out of your control are out of your control. You know, if there's a small hang up on, the Mass Pike coming here and you're running a little late, it's okay. You don't have to call us, just keep coming. But try to hit the window that your student has either been assigned their move-in time or made a move-in time.
Mhm. We're getting lots of questions about fridges and microwaves. So can you talk about what's allowed, how they get them moved in?
Yep. Yep.
the partnership we have with Microfridge, all of that.
Yeah. So microfridge units that have been rented or purchased by way of that vendor will be in the rooms waiting for the student unless you haven't ordered it already. Then we can't guarantee. We're already at the 19th of August. If you're bringing your own purchased microwave and refrigerator, there are some parameters around the voltage and size, and those can be found on our website. Typically, it's the square, the cube one. There are some that are rectangular that still meet the parameters of the fridge size. But off the top of my head, the cubic feet is, I don't have it in my mind. You will be moving that in with potentially the assistance of minute movers. If it's a minute mover hall, or the professional movers will move it in and have it in the room when you return from parking the car. Please note, you will be moving it out on your own. We do not assist people in moving out in May. And so that heavy item that maybe somebody helped you move in this fall will be your responsibility to get out of the residence hall when your student's ready to check out in May.
Mhm. Don, I think this is a funny question and a thing lots of people are worried about, but how clean are the rooms and should
Very
they have
clean.
cleaning supplies?
Very clean. In fact, that's one of our, I think our proudest accomplishments is that our custodial team works super hard to get rooms prepared and clean for students. I have monitored our different Facebook pages over the last and probably almost 20, decade at least. And I've had mostly moms, because they're the ones who worry about it, report back that they brought all these cleaning supplies and they didn't have to use any of them. And so you do not, I mean, if you want to bring some wipes, okay, bring some wipes, but top to bottom, your room should be very, very, very clean. And if it's not, we want you to report that to us by way of calling it into the facility service center, because as far as I'm concerned, if your room is so unclean that you don't feel like you can move in, that would be considered an emergency.
Mhm. This next question is not really a Don question, but we're going to answer it. It's does my student need a social security card? And the answer is yes. If they want a job on campus, we absolutely have to have that social security card. And so if you think your student's going to want a job, please make sure you send them with that social security card.
And it cannot be laminated.
Yes, it cannot be laminated and we need it in person. We can't have a copy of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Another question is, does their photo ID need to be printed? And the answer is yes, we need all of these things physically in person.
Yes.
Does every residence hall have filtered drinking water stations?
Every single residence hall has at least one filtered hydration station so your student can fill up their reusable water. Yes.
Mhm. Don, when it comes to packing, do you recommend folks label everything for the movers?
So the professional moving company will label the item, the bins as they get loaded from the car, and so it isn't necessary. The minute mover, if you're moving in with the minute movers assisting, then you're in possession of those belongings at all times. It's called chain of custody. You retain chain of custody of your student, you or your student's belongings throughout that process, unless you're moving the car because you're the driver of the car. I don't think it's necessary. If you're worried about it, I won't tell you not to do it.
Mhm. Great. Lots more questions about parking for the second car, for the first car. What if one car is staying because it's the student's car? What do we need to know more about
Yep.
parking?
Yep. So again, I'm going to drive you to our website and to the fall move-in page, and you're going to go to the driving directions tab, and you are going to take a look at all of the driving directions and parking instructions for the day that you're moving it, what the side that you're moving in on, the day that you're moving in on, and then the specific residence hall that your student lives in. And all of that is detailed. It was painstakingly done 2 summers ago. For every single residence hall, we have outlined the driving directions to the unload, from the unload to the parking, and the second car from the check-in location to the parking. So there's 3 types of parking and driving directions, and all of them for every single residence hall are outlined on our website.
Don, this is an important question, and it's going to be the last one we take. But talk to us about trash on move-in day. Are there dumpsters? What happens with
Good,
all the stuff
great
that
question.
people bring
Yep.
to move in?
That's such a great question. Thank you for taking that one.
Yeah.
So there are Outside the building, you will dispose of styrofoam and cardboard boxes. And so those shouldn't, even if there is trash and recycling spaces inside the residence hall, we ask that families walk out styrofoam, that's a separate stream, and cardboard, that's a separate stream. There'll be places that are designated on the grass outside of the building for you to place those items, and then we continually scoop them up throughout each move-in day. And then for regular trash and regular recycling throughout the year, there are trash and recycling spaces. In some halls, it's outside the building. In some halls, it's inside the building. Those smaller items can go into the trash and recycling areas. The bigger stuff, the big boxes that things came in, or the styrofoam that it was packed in, those should be walked out to the designated areas outside the residence hall.
All right, John. There's no way we could take all these questions.
I know there's so many
There's
questions.
still 100 more questions.
A
We've
lot of them are
answered-
repeat though. I
Yes.
took a peek. A lot of
Yeah.
them are things that I covered in the presentation. I feel like that, you know, a quick review of what I talked about may help.
Yeah.
And then a lot of these we covered.
Yeah, we
it
did.
just,
And we've
you know,
answered over 200 questions. But
Yeah.
Don, what are the last things you want us folks to know?
Okay, great. And yes, we do require students at UMass to recycle. They must sort into what is called a single stream, and directions for what we put in the single stream are in all of the trash and recycling areas. There's really helpful posters. So that was the last question I saw when I stepped away from that. So what are my final words? My final words are, please go to our website and navigate the move-in page and look at each of the tabs. I promise you that 98% of your questions will be answered there. There are definitely going to be a very, small amount of questions that are unique to a student's experience that you may have to drop us an email. And we're happy to answer those emails. Right now, we are still digging out a little bit from last week's move-in reservation emails, but please use the residential services at umass.edu email if you have a particular question that you feel our website hasn't answered. We do have some frequently asked questions on our website as well. If we have answered the frequently asked question already on our website, you will get a generic answer back that says that that question is available on our frequently asked questions. Okay, because there's just, almost 14,000 students that live on campus with us. The second thing that I would want to leave students and families with today is that we're super looking forward to moving you in and are excited. This is our favorite time of the year. We work all year planning and preparing and getting excited about your arrival. And we hope that you find it smooth and easy, and you've used some of the tips that we've talked about today to prepare. And we'll see you in about a week and a little. So a week and a
Yeah.
day, week and a day. So
It's getting close. Well, again, thank you all so much for being here with us today. We have shared our contact information. You're welcome to email our offices. Remember that there are 30,000 of you and not 30,000 of us, but we are going to try our hardest to get everyone their answers as soon as possible. And we are super excited to welcome you to campus. And we will see you soon.